All right, here we are with Mr. the infamous, famous, inimitable
There you go.
Barry Selby, otherwise known as the Love Doctor, which is
Inimitable.
quite a moniker that you've got for yourself.
Well, let me tell you,
Joining us from Southern California, and we have spent a long time creating the platform and the context for this. So thank you so much for being here with me,
a
Barry.
pleasure. And by the way, just so you know, the title, I didn't claim it myself. It was given to me by my friends and clients. And there are plenty of other people out there who call themselves love doctors too. So I'm not the only one. It's just that I'm nicknamed by my clients and friends as being the love doctor. So I
There
kind
you
of,
go. Okay. So say what Love Doctor.
well, it's
Change
just
the
humility.
article.
It's like,
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
basically, I'm about love, and I don't have a doctorate, but I have a master's degree. So
Hmm.
not a, I play one. I don't play one in real life.
But you've been doing this for decades and decades from what I've learned of you, and have, a couple of podcasts that have been going for many years, have been working with people who are in the dating and relationship categories, and now I hear you're really focused on the self-love piece as a vehicle for their then being in greater rapport with other people in life.
Well, the thing is, and this is the thing I've been done for years, is I've always come back to the relationship with self as being the underlying thing, but it wasn't sexy to promote that. But
Yeah,
this year said, well, actually, no, it was about July, August last year, where I said, screw it, I've got to talk about this up front because every time I talk to somebody about dating or having a healthy relationship, we always get to relationship with self. So rather than pretend that it's not visible, I'm saying, no, let's start with that. And
yeah.
then we go into the relationship piece.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's really interesting because I think it's, as a fellow coach, I agree wholeheartedly with you that like it is the infallible and unavoidable foundation to everything. Like how I perceive myself and how I'm in relationship with myself will determine how I eat, how I exercise, how I sleep, how I love, how I fuck, how I
Yeah.
how I make money, how everything that I do will feel. And yet when people come to most what people are very recalcitrant about seeing that at first. It's like they see the evidence out there in the world of something they want differently, and then that's what they're acting like they're going after. So the
Well,
foundation is being like the with self is makes so much sense, and I think it's very wise of you to just go straight for the straight for the
well,
kill, so to speak.
to be transparent, I mean, I've often said I use the quote from Jerry Maguire as the definition of codependency, which is you complete me. But a lot of people think of relationship being when they find the right person, they'll feel okay. And it's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
because then one, you put the onus on them making you feel better. But secondly, we tend to attract relationships that mirror who we are anyway, how we are to ourselves. So if you don't do the inner work, your quality of relationship won't get any better.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
biggest, oh, okay, I better do something about that then.
Right, right. And I imagine especially if you're working with people who are dating and then in relationship, it must be a very predictable, maybe rewarding transition to say like to have somebody go from being like, "Oh, I just need a partner. I really just need a partner and then I'll be okay." And then they get the partner and then they're like, "Oh, wait, 3 months later, 6 months later when the endorphins wear off.
Honeymoon phase.
What is this now that I have to do? This doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it completes me."
Oh, because I went through it myself several times, so I speak from definitely painful experience. So yeah, I do have a certain level of compassion, but also like predictability when people don't choose to do the work themselves first. So that's why I focus on it now.
There you go. There you go. And I think I learned that you were at one point in your career quite a lot working or more majority working with women, and now you're kind of bringing in more men to the scene. Is that true?
Yeah, the way it happened was because I have a coach I work with as well, because frankly, a good coach has a coach as well.
Hmm.
And she asked me what was my bottom line of my work, and this really started for me back in 2007
Hmm.
after I really started to after I really got fed up with breaking my own promises to myself in relationship and having bad experiences where actually let me put this in context. So lots of dating experiences, lots of mistakes,
Yeah.
and the last big blow up I had in the last relationship I was in back in 2006 to towards 2007, she basically read me the riot act because I was so off base of what she wanted. What
Mm,
she wanted wasn't really what I was ever going to be. So it was kind of like this old like cowboy macho type guy she wanted. But up to that point, my perception of being a man was really one of two options: being the macho guy, but basically being the bad boy type thing,
mm,
or being the nice guy.
mhm.
I didn't know until 2007 there was a third option, which is what I really was. asking, like saying, God, give me a clue, something, a sign. 3 months within into that sort of prayer work in quotes. I met somebody who led me to these teachings that were really about masculine and feminine polarity, which woke me up. At the
Hmm.
end of that first workshop, having done real deep work in owning my masculinity and discovering how important that was to me beyond anything else.
Hmm.
At the end of the workshop, all the men were standing side by side as brothers. We were so deep in our own masculinity, women across from us in their femininity. And I just discovered my devotion to the feminine in that moment. So working with women, to get back to the original question,
Mm.
became my focus and my commitment. And then my coach said to me, this is going back to the last July? It was early last year. She said to me, what's your bottom line about your work? I said, really, it's about respect for women, because that came from the only, devotion to the feminine. And as soon as I said, respect for women, right at the back of my mind was like, oh, I need to teach the men this too.
Hmm.
When I told her, she laughed at me. She said, of course, you've got to teach both men and women about this because we men have some cleanup to do about our way we treat women.
Mm.
And that's part of my respect for women is to help women have better choices because I want to help the men be better partners. So it
Mm.
includes both sides of the conversation. A long way to go to answer your question.
Sure, but a very sweet and tender context.
Thank you.
And it's like as you know, the people who've worked with me before, I work with men to give them the codes for how to physically respect and understand and connect with women. And so I think
Mhm.
we're very, very aligned on that.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah. And so one of the places that I find most fascinating with the men who are dating who work with me. So I also work with men who are, dating dating and also in relationship on their
Yeah.
physical intimacy. And the men who come in as part of couples, I think that we as a society are fairly familiar with the trope of kind of what happens to physical intimacy in a long-term relationship. Is it can dwindle over time, is the sort of the stereotype at least. So that feels very straightforward for the guys in relationships. They know that they've already got consent. They know they might know their wife's body but need to know it better. They might feel like if she were to feel a little bit more open and relaxed, things would be a little bit more hot and heavy
Different.
in the
Yeah.
bedroom. But that there are not so many mysteries around how to first make the initial kind of contact and approach. But over on the dating side,
Yeah.
in the last few years, men have become very con collapsed. I mean, contracted, like controlled around what exactly is okay and welcomed by women, not just in the physical, not just in like the can I kiss you or touch your booty kind of thing, but even in should I give a hug or a handshake?
Yep.
Should I
Absolutely.
put a hand on her lower back? Should I open the door? Should I pay? Like should I tell her that I like how do I make that transition in a way that does not make her feel uncomfortable?
We have had quite a wake up call, partly with the Me Too movement and some of the behaviors that have been hidden for a long time now becoming visible.
Yeah.
So a lot of men, well, let me say this, men who are aware enough to know this, because a lot of men are oblivious as well. But those of us men who are aware enough go are really seeing that what we presume was normal, we can't trust that anymore because we've seen the impact that it has negatively. So how to be respectful, and it's funny because I talked to this again a long time ago, and I remember talking about how the modern dating scene is like men need to lead and take charge, and that's one of the scariest things because we don't know what she wants. So we're oftentimes we're flying blind. And I said
Yeah.
back in the old days, Victorian times and in the Wild West, women would drop their handkerchief because they would initiate the contact by saying she likes him. Now he needs to pick up the handkerchief and
Right.
then follow through. We don't
Yes.
get that freedom anymore. We have to we should we're flying blind. We don't know that she's interested or not. So we've got to get past that initial hurdle of rejection, which for men, frankly, is a pretty common experience. Rejection is one of those companions we live a lot with in our lives because we don't necessarily know. And again, part of it is about the inner place where we rise to the level of our own internal barometer of what relationship we attract. So if we look at somebody we think we're attracted to who doesn't fit that, there's likely to be a rejection.
Hmm.
So we feel oftentimes afraid of approaching because we don't want to risk anything. And then on the other side of things, we think, well, I'm gung ho, I'm going to do it anyway. And then we hurt them emotionally, physically, mentally, wherever that is. And then we crawl back into our shells because we feel like we've done something wrong. So it's kind of a no-win situation if we don't have some skills or tools or, frankly, permission to take a
Mm.
step forward.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was an excellent soliloquy on it. And so then what do you guide the men in your landscape to do? What kind of tools or resources do you have for
Frankly,
that?
it starts with, as we talked about earlier, about self-relationship.
Mm,
I've been in the personal development field for 40 plus years now, and I didn't have a clue why I entered into it. Now I look back and go, of course I know now why, looking
hmm
back. But the biggest part is my relationship with myself, and for that, true of anybody, men and women.
hmm
It's what we carry through our whole lives. It's the longest relationship we have is the one with ourselves, the one in the mirror. And if we don't make that relationship healthy and whole, then what hope do we have of making the other relationship healthy and whole? So it does start with how we relate to ourselves, and it means emotional um, maturity as well as just mental faculty. Because being smart is great, or working out, and being strong and fit is great too. Without the emotional component, because most women are more emotionally connected,
hmm
we can't relate to them in the way that they want to feel related to as well.
hmm
So a large part of the work is emotional maturity, which often means unpacking all the baggage we carry. Um, I won't say unconsciously, but basically anonymously because we think we're better than that. Because
Mm,
then we got to tough it out. We're strong because we were raised with
mm,
the values of not crying,
mm,
not being sissies. You got to tough it out, grow up. Don't all these different things we're told as kids.
hmm
That as men, we think we can't be vulnerable
hmm
because that's society's rules. Because that's where Dad taught us, or the men around us taught us. So we can't show weakness because vulnerability equals weakness to us, which is not true, but it's what we think it is. And so that's where I really dive in deep with my clients, both men and women, frankly, because women have the same issues in some ways.
hmm
But for men, especially, having emotional vulnerability and safety is
hmm
surprisingly important because most men don't even know they have that opportunity.
mm. Yeah, so when we've talked in the past, you've mentioned that you'll suggest to men that they say something like, "Hey, I'm really into you, and I just don't know how to take it further right now. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what to do next to show you that." Which is, I find like as a hearing that, I'm like, "Oh my God, that would be so refreshing to when I was in my dating.
exactly.
It would be so refreshing to hear a man say that." And I like the woman in me would be like, "Oh yeah, I totally feel that. Like I've been there too. I've liked a guy and not known how." To shoot my shot with him and I feared rejection as well. Like I'm a human, I get it.
Yeah.
And I tell that I impart this in all the ways that I can. And I think many women are in a similar place as me about this. Like they really, really like that. It would be refreshing. It's not a sign of weakness at all, even like on this side of the conversation.
Mhm.
And yet it feels like it's a really hard sell for most men. Like I say that and I almost like hear it roll off their back. Like that's just like, oh well that's a fun like okay, well that's the idea we won't use. Now what should I say?
Right. Part of it's
Like
because, yeah, because we think we should know things. We're supposed to be the man, which means we must have a plan and an operational procedure and
right,
understanding all these different things we're supposed to know without any training.
right.
And I mean, I said I was in personal growth, in personal development field for 40 plus years. Back when I first started, and this is one of those best kept secrets,
Hmm.
most of the people in those trainings were women, not men, because women
Mm,
were open to the work, men weren't. We were, because again, we thought we had it together. And
yeah.
so we didn't think we had anything wrong. And it's something that I think is coming more and more to light how with men who are basically with the incel movement, other things with boys and men who don't know how to relate.
Mhm.
It's time that men really own up to being vulnerable, being students, and
Mhm.
being willing to learn something new because it's not possible to live your life immune to everything if you don't
Mm,
learn something new and grow into it. Like you're saying, how in relationships, men can learn tools, but they have to be willing to learn in the first place to actually learn those tools.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't know that the object like with the guys that I'm working with the objection is not the learning. They would like to learn the skill. They would like to learn a skill that makes them charismatic and gregarious so that they do not need to ask that question. They
Mhm.
are they're in tune with whatever subconscious flow is in her that they can respond to and still be that leader that leads,
Right.
which for me like on this side of things it is that's a much harder needle to thread that depends on so many different variables, not just like the wind and her moods and her hormones and her how tight her yoga pants are or like
Yep.
did she come to the grocery store to get hit on or to buy grapefruits or all these things that are unseen and unknowable. It also in like proliferates a sense of like uncertainty and unsafety in the man's nervous system, which
Yep.
is really not that cool to do to yourself.
It's also not going to give us the best place to start from. So
Right,
absolutely. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So could you maybe share a few like anecdotes or stories of men who have asked that of a woman that they're interested in? And they've asked I'm really into you, or they said that I'm really into you and I'm not sure how to proceed. And could you like give us a few like street stories of how that has gone for them so we could maybe give these guys some hope of how it could look in the real world?
Well, I'll speak from what I'm aware of. I don't have a whole list of stories I can quote from exactly, but I do know with some of my clients where it's been more of a um, cards on the table experience, where they decided not to
Cards on
pretend
the table.
cards on the
Uh-huh.
table yet. So not pretending they know everything, because the challenge is, because most of us have thought this way as men, is that we've got to like pretend we know everything. Like,
Yeah.
don't make any mistakes, because if you make a mistake or trip up, we're in trouble. Because
Hmm.
she has to have the best impression of us, so we must be infallible. And so all of that becomes this um, glass structure that will collapse.
Yeah.
Just one breath and it'll collapse because we don't have it all together. So being that blunt, saying, I don't know everything, to be that vulnerable, and frankly, to get off our high horse and to be humble enough to say, I don't know everything. For most of the men I've worked with and the conversation I've had with them afterwards, it was so freeing, first of all, because they didn't feel like they had to carry all this weight. And it was actually the easiest dates they've ever had because they didn't have to try as hard. They weren't trying to put on an act and have this structure they put together that was all totally, unstable. And so for them, even if the date didn't work out, they had much more fun and enjoyed themselves because they were more aligned to themselves
Yeah.
and they weren't trying to prove anything, which is so unusual for us as men when we're on dates.
I know. That's the other well yeah, we'll get there in a second. But yeah, the conversational I'm gonna impress you with all the things about myself and meanwhile
Exactly.
she's over there being like, could you just ask a question? Like three in a row maybe, to get me to open up a little bit. Okay, but before we leave this, so I shared that from my perspective, like it would be refreshing to hear this kind of like opening up from a man. And I know you've worked with a lot of women who I imagine have received it from a man, like
Yeah.
her received that kind of like, just, hey, I'm into you, but I don't know how to take this forward. What is the woman like? What do women say about that?
It feels like they got part of they're part of the conversation now.
Mm,
Because like you were saying about when a woman would love a man to ask a question because we are so busy trying to impress her, we don't actually stop and say, "How about you?"
yeah.
And so when women have that invitation, they feel, visible, they feel honored, they feel included in the conversation. And it's not like they run the show, but they like to feel they can give input so that he can run the show the way they want it to. That's the dance. Because the ultimate thing is, we go on a date, the first date we go on, from a dating app, wherever, we don't necessarily know much about the woman. So we don't know what her favorite food is. We don't know what her favorite preferences are. And so if we can ask her, like, I would love it if you could give me like three things you'd love to do so I can pick one of them.
Mm,
Even that much still gives him dominion.
mm,
So it gives him a head start because he now has accurate information about her that he can use that she will enjoy.
yeah. Yeah, and she feels interested in, like she
Yeah,
feels like he's interested in her.
he's been
Okay,
listened
so
to.
then
Yes.
what about something like what is it about something like opening the door for her on the first date?
Okay. So as I talked about before, I'm English by
Yes.
upbringing. So opening the
Yes.
door is part of my nature.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
yeah, well, no, but it's not like it's not, I mean, chivalry, say chivalry is not dead, it's just on life support. Um, and
I've
that's the
never
thing. And
heard
it's
that. I love
funny.
that so
I mean,
much.
like I remember because I picked up a friend from the airport a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and because the central lock in the car wasn't working right, I went around the back and opened the trunk, put the stuff in the suitcase in the trunk, and I went to open her door and I couldn't because the key was the ignition. I had to go around the driver's side, and I felt so wrong because I didn't open a door for her. It's like I couldn't. So to answer the question, basically, I love opening the door, and I will do it all the time. And yes, I have had women who did not like that at all. Give me their feedback directly. And I'm simply saying, I won't say I don't care, but I'm not doing it out of trying to get somewhere with you. I'm going to do it out of respect because you're a woman.
Hmm.
And when I say that to them, oftentimes they go, "Oh, okay." Sometimes they're so in their anger they won't hear it at all, which is fine. That's not me, it's
Hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Opening the door just is part of the way, and ultimately, I open the door for for kids and for other people too. Not every single time, but for women especially, I'll always let them go first. Except the one instance I've done differently is if we're going somewhere that is very challenging or crowded or noisy,
Yeah.
I'll tend to lead, like just taking the hand and lead through the crowd. So I'll open the door first to go through with her behind me, just to keep her safe.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Cool. So basically, that's something you don't ask her about first. You go with your indoctrinated, like, sense of rightness.
Yeah.
And then if she has a reaction to that, you let her have her reaction.
Well,
Clarify what your intent was. And if
if
she's
I,
still not satisfied, perhaps that's a litmus test on your compatibility.
yeah, because if she's not willing to let me open the door for her, we're probably not going to be a good match because that's part of my character, and she's not willing to receive because it's a receiving thing. That
Hmm.
level of care, support, respect.
Yeah.
She's got something to work on. I mean, she might be a
Hmm.
good client, but she won't be a good date.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Cool. And then so how do you navigate? It sounds like you're dating. Am I right that are you
I've been
currently?
single quite a while. I am
Okay.
occasionally dating, not very often, but occasionally dating. Yes.
Okay, occasionally dating. So maybe either personal experience or if you prefer to like tell us about some client how you instruct clients to take this next dating landmark is the first kiss.
Hmm.
The infamous first kiss landmark. And I have my own perspective on this, which I'm happy to share, but I'm curious what your prescription is on how to. And I think the main, just laying out the concern men would have would be doing it doing it at a time or in a way that isn't welcomed and makes her uncomfortable. So I think the
Yeah.
rejection piece is there. That's always there for us. But the guys who work with me are very, very caring about women. And their one of the concern they voice the most is I really just don't want to make her uncomfortable.
For me, and this is personal experience too, I think I found the most comfortable, respectful way of doing it is actually to ask her if it's okay to kiss her.
Yeah.
Um, it's not something because just be blunt about it. My
Yeah.
intuition is not as strong as hers is.
Mm.
So knowing when she's ready to be kissed, she'll know way before I will.
Mm.
And so by making the request, and because one is had again, respect again comes back to the bottom line is like I don't want to presume anything or step on toes or do things that are going to be clumsy and or be rejected, either one of those.
Yeah.
So being willing to ask and saying is it okay, it's going to elicit a very clear response one way or the other. If she's not sure about it, she won't. She's going to be sure one way or the other very clearly. Is that's the
Hmm.
one thing women have is when it comes to that point, there is no like not sure. It's like not now or not ever or
Mm.
yes sort of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
And so I always err on the side of respect and being um what's the word looking for? Basically, preferring the choice to her,
Hmm.
to making it very clear. And of course, if she
Transparent.
leans in to kiss him, that's a different story entirely.
Yeah. And so then what do you say to Oh, because I would agree on that, and I'll give the reasons why, like kind of the context for which I think it's the
Sure.
the superior choice too. But what then about the women, and they are out there,
Hmm.
who say he shouldn't have to ask. Like if he
Hmm.
asks, I'm not interested anymore.
This is the challenge of um well, that's the way that well, Alison Armstrong puts it between human animal and human spirit.
Mm,
Is there's a level of animal magnetism drawing that's so like alchemical. It's like just it's going to be like there's no these to communicate. It's no words to be said. It's just done.
mm,
But at the same time, in the human spirit, it's more of a mutual respect to the two partners and the energetics of that. And yes, if a woman says he shouldn't have to ask, how clear is her signal to him?
mm,
Because the other part is that, as I said, women's intuition is way more powerful than men's. We do have intuition, but it's not as well trained as women's is.
mm-hmm,
So when a woman, she can sense our energy and her energy right off the bat. We have to work at getting to that level of understanding. It
mm,
takes practice and takes tools, and I'm sure things you teach help men with that as well.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that like assumption, like he should know when to kiss me,
Yeah,
is such a um, it's a razor's edge. It's a knife's edge. There's so
yeah,
because it can so go wrong so easily
yeah.
because he doesn't because most men don't have that level of intuitiveness and can sense her. And I know we teach might in fact fit that gap
Mm-hmm.
of being able to say she wants to be kissed right now, even though she hasn't said a word.
Hmm.
Because for me, that is one of the scariest things personally,
Totally.
because I
Yeah,
don't want to
it
cross that
really
line, you know?
it really is, and it's that first real hurdle before you have a sense of communication and trust about physical intimacy. Like, can I put my
Exactly.
hand here? And are you okay with this now? Which once you're like in bed and horizontal, those questions, although still, you know,
There's levels.
there's levels exactly, but like especially like there's a lot more welcomeness to it than
Yeah.
in that standing at moment.
That
So
that
I,
fir-
I
that, fir- that first connection, that first intimacy of swapping spit is yeah,
Yeah.
it's such
When
a
you're
great.
when swapping spit, right? The first time you share bodily fluids,
Right.
it's the high, yeah, it's the stakes are high, yeah. So I really, really like this thing that you're bringing, and I haven't ever heard this presence, which is essentially if you want him to know, then you should do your part and show. Like if you think that he should be reading your mind, is there a book? Like did you open the book? Are you touching him back? Are
Mhm.
you smiling and showing your teeth? Are you making a ton of eye contact? Or are your arms uncrossed? Did you scoot closer when he moved toward you? Did you welcome him when he moved his chair around the corner and sat closer to you at the table? Did you offer him, all these things that the men who have read or watched YouTubes or taken my courses, they're looking for these things. They know to look for eye contact. They know to look for a smile. They know to
Mhm.
look for extended touch. They know to look for her touching back. They're not they're not inane about it. But if they're not getting that, then she can't reasonably be like, okay, well then he should know that it's time to kiss me now, because
Exactly.
the whole training that I tell men is like you need to be touching on the date. You need to be making small like gestures and
Hmm.
connections on her hands and her arms. If you've got like if it's there, like her neck and her hair, before you move in to put your lips on her, because otherwise it comes out of nowhere and it is more likely to be like, whoa, where was that coming from? I can't echo like I had this experience once with a guy who I was into. He was handsome. I knew I wanted to date him. I knew I wanted to date him, and I knew he was interested in me. And at the end of the date, where there was zero physical contact, he hadn't initiated anything. He asked for a kiss, and I said, like, thanks, but not right now, because I don't feel you. Like, I just do not even, I don't feel you in space right now. There has
Right.
been no contact with my body to yours, and so this feels out of place. But I knew I was still into him. I knew that I was going to date him. We ended up having a wonderful relationship during COVID. And this is where I think a lot of guys, they kind of like save up their move for the kiss, but they don't think about how to make these micro connections physically along the
Yeah.
way. Actually give women a sense of, yeah, like does the animal of my body relax when he comes closer?
Yeah.
Relax when he touches me? Do I like do the subconscious pheromone detectors in me like want to be closer to his face? All that stuff
Hmm.
it's like this like a cycle of like he can give her things to base her decision on. She can then show him more openly like yes it's going to be a yes, and then the question or not becomes moot. It's like there is a connection there, or there's a sense of bodily trust that is established by that point.
Oh yeah. And just to reflect on a few dates I've had in the last couple of um well, last year or so, I can definitely see the ones that I had no desire at all to move on, and some that I did. So I
Yeah.
do have that internal gauge, and that's the thing. We also, as men, we know like turn on, turn off. We know where it is inside ourselves. But as you said, absolutely, it's her responsibility in a way to show her interest in return.
Mm.
And the trick is, and this is one of the things about intuition and subtlety. Women, and this is one of the things that one of my teachers talks about, how women have the ability to communicate a whole life story with just one raised eyebrow with each other. Like the level of women's communication, nonverbal communication, is amazing.
Mm.
We weren't even aware she raised her eyebrow. So
Mm.
we as men are not as subtly tuned in and trained for as women are to
Mm.
communicate. So when a woman wants to express her invitation to a man, like you said about the physical touch, it's like those things have to be somewhat overt so that we get the signal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Right. Right. And I think on the women's side, almost it's like if he were good enough at reading signals, I
Right.
wouldn't have like he would get it if he was so charming and so gregarious and etc. And I think there's a conflation there, which is unseen that like if you're dating a guy who is that great at reading social cues, he's probably dating a lot of women.
Quite
Like
possibly.
he may not be the guy that you actually it may be fun to date him. Yes, but
Hmm.
he's probably not life partner material. The life partner is the person who's going to represent that they don't exactly know what you need or want, but they're willing to do it if you
Yeah.
can, itemize it for them. And so
Basically, it is kind of it's the idea you're looking for the long term, the life partner. That means the long haul.
yeah,
The first early missteps don't mean anything in the long haul if that's really what you're looking for.
right. It's like,
You know?
yeah, don't worry about don't worry about how you tied your shoes. Just make sure that you get out the door and you get on the walk because you have a
Right.
lot of steps to take in those shoes. They
Exactly.
you'll retie them when you need to.
Yep.
Make sure it happens. Yeah. I also suggest men for the, reason I mentioned before, and I think you echoed it was if you're unsure about whether or not she wants that first kiss, like say something that reflects your desire and checks in for interest. So it's like the kind of the composite is like, I have a real desire, like I'm feeling really a desire to kiss you right now, and I'm wondering if you're feeling that too.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if now's the time for that. Or like I'm wondering like if I could I'm wondering if you'd like give me a peck on the cheek. It's just something that like that represents, yeah, like it conveys that you want this thing, which is the vulnerability part. And then this they're like, hey, like you're a human. You've got opinions. I'm sure you have one about this. What
Exactly.
is it?
Yeah. And because again the work I've done where women is so deep in my bones too, to give women that space to invite that permission from her rather than assume anything is required because unfortunately so many men have gotten in trouble for sexual conduct, so to speak, because they simply crossed the line they didn't know they couldn't cross.
Right.
And so to have that conversation precludes assumptions and mistakes and all the other things that we do. So it's important for us as men, I think, especially nowadays, because of what's been happening the last few years in terms of the media and everything else, that we make sure we have permission and we ask questions not out of ignorance, but out of respect.
Hmm.
Because that's the thing for me. A lot of my work is about respect, about opening doors. All the things I do is that sense. So to ask a woman for her opinion, her perspective, for her willingness to play, is out of respect for her. So I don't tread on toes, making a mistake, upset her, and make her feel used or abused or anything like that.
Hmm. Love it. I love it so much, especially coming from that frame. The oh man, I just had a so then the only other sliver of this that I think that I can think of the two men who are in my DMs right now who would want me to drill down on this particular part of it, which is if they've cultivated a friendship with a woman, they're in a social setting like a party or a meetup for singles, or maybe it's not even that explicit. It's just maybe house party will go. And they find a woman that they're interested in, but they aren't sure if or how to transition from a general friend context to the I'm interested in you, I'm potentially interested in you romantically context. And their fear, they're I think they're game to make they're game to say the hey, I'm interested in you thing, but they're not sure if it's going to make her feel uncomfortable, make it uncomfortable between them. Then if she says no, is it going to be then uncomfortable for them to go on as friends or to be in that
Right.
environment? How would you yeah,
Well,
guide those guys?
the first thing comes up is really is how deep is that friendship? Because
Hmm.
somebody who you're peripherally friends with, socially friends with, that may not be such a hurdle to cross. Whereas somebody you've been friends with for 25 years and you deeply love each other, and it's like you don't want to violate that. It's different energetics. That's one thing, first of all. The second piece is, especially if you are friends, you can have a conversation that's that vulnerable because you've got safety with each other. A real friendship has that space of safety to be able to share what you're feeling. And
Hmm.
if it comes to the point of saying, we've been friends for a long time, but I've been wondering, it's like, would it be fun to go on a date? And you could make it that light, not saying I must go out with you, but
Right.
saying, wouldn't it be fun? Yeah, would you be open to that? And they might say that'd be fun to do, or they might say, I like the friendship the way it is. You haven't committed, you haven't put your foot really in it to force a commitment either way. And so you're giving her the space to sort of come back to you and say, that will be great. Or it's like, the friendship's great. So there isn't some pressure in there where suddenly becomes uncomfortable and you can't do it anymore. Because yeah, if you make that big leap without actually asking, it's like looking first. it's look before you leap type
Yeah,
thing, is
totally.
have that willingness to understand, and then you can move in to the next step where it's meant to be, and you have clarity with your partner, with your friend.
Totally. Totally. So then what if there isn't a strong friendship and it's just like the party situation or they,
If you
try to,
just like met someone at a party, you got introduced as friends,
yeah.
there's no established path at this point. It's like you like each other, great. You have social connection, great. You have some level of mutual friendship with somebody else, and they may not have seen you two as being dates with each other, but if you feel that way, it's again, it's the same sort of thing. It's like I really like to like like you. Would you like to go to get together like on a one-on-one, like maybe as a date, and you can make it as a date to set know what your intention is. Because if you say you want to go get together socially, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you want
Yeah.
to go on a date, they know what you're asking for,
Yeah.
so you can make it almost that not want to say throwaway, but that light enough that she can go, no thanks, or
Right.
that'd be fun. Again, you give her the choice because again, it's always about respect and choice too.
Totally. And then so in your experience, then if a guy does that, that clean and that light of an intro or a request, is it likely or does it happen that women are uncomfortable with that?
From my experience, I don't think it's been that uncomfortable. The one thing I'd also say is for men, it gives us a lot less pressure on the rejection experience because we make it light ourselves. So we're
Right.
not heavily invested one way or the other. So we don't feel upset whichever way she chooses. So for one
Yeah.
thing, for our own self-preservation, for us men, it's good to take care of ourselves so we don't sort of put all our eggs in one basket. We are
Yeah.
leading into that. And then basically, because like you're saying, when we go on the date where when she leans in, when he leans in, sort of thing. Same idea when you're having a conversation. He's offering a lean in just very slightly, not saying I must go out with you, but it's like, wouldn't it be cool? Would you like to? Sort of thing in a very light way. And if she leans back in the same way, then there's some movement in that direction that can be taken to a next level. And it might just be go out for coffee together. I mean, I
Mm,
personally, I recommend anyway, if you go on a date with somebody you've not met before, go for coffee because the stakes are lower.
yes.
So, because the first date always such a pretentious energy, and also, frankly, if you don't know the person, you may be spending lots of money on them, and you don't want to go out with them again. That can feel real messy on your own ego as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it keeps it light and I think it's like the zero date concept.
Yeah,
It's like we're honestly we're like dogs sniffing each other out at the park. Like it's
kind of.
just we're just kind of being like, hey, like symmetry, good breeding.
Smells good.
knows
Yeah,
knows what I'm talking about. Completes their
right.
sentences. Isn't rude to wait staff. All the things that we're subconsciously checking for.
Yeah, and also the thing is, when you meet someone at a social gathering or a party, you probably don't know much about them ultimately until you get together with them one-on-one outside of that environment too. So
Yeah.
having an undate or that sort of non-date idea is a good place to start because then you've got groundwork we can build from. It's like, because then you just also you might discover when you get out with them, it's like, ooh, because I'm one of the things where I definitely need my second perception of somebody. The first time I meet them, I make up all the stories about them. And the second time I meet them, the stories go away. You know?
Yeah, you can actually check, you can like check out your stories with
Yeah.
reality. Yeah. Totally. Are your stories, do you tend to have stories that embellish the person, like make them seem greater than human, or like have them seem like under like
Most of the time, my experience has been when I met women for the first time, that who they are is a lot better than I think they're a lot better than they really are. In terms of that gives them a whole lot of
right.
shine or pizzazz. Then when I meet them again the second time, I was like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Aw.
So
Aw.
that's why it's good not to put all my eggs in one basket and see up front like this is the one because I've had soulmate experiences in the past, like crossing like ships crossing the night, whereas like we weren't meant to be together. It wasn't that line up at the time, but I know that feeling, and
Hmm.
it doesn't mean romance necessarily. So I don't get caught up in that one easily. So when I meet somebody, I'm definitely um, wanting to get reality checks to verify what I've seen about them is really true.
Hmm. Hmm. I like that a lot. I like that, especially, and it adds another great reason for the undate or
Yeah.
the date. Um, so from your female clients, is there anything else that men who are dating can know or do, and especially like slanted toward like the physical connection side of things? Like are women coming back to you and saying like he should have hugged, like what are the secrets on the other side?
Um, well, you dropped it earlier on, which is kind of important about having him ask her questions. Like two or three in a row is a good thing to do. So right up front, that's a big thing because she'll feel much more listened to. Because the thing is, we oftentimes again we're trying to sell ourselves to the woman, so we don't listen. We just want to talk, so she feels impressed by us. That's the way we're wired to do things. But if we don't say almost anything, we just say, tell me more about you. What about this? Why do you believe that? What's this sort of thing? She feels validated and heard, so she feels received and she feels warmer. So she's going to be much more open to this connection because she's feeling like she's included, not being talked at, but being talked with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the thing for that as well is there's a level of edifying that happens because you're not trying to impress them. You're
Hmm.
actually having them be impressed in you because you're willing to ask the questions of her.
Hmm.
That she
Hmm.
feels received, she feels respected.
Hmm.
That gets you a lot further. I mean, just a little secret to the men, gets you a lot further than if you try and sell yourself to them.
Yeah, immeasurably. Like I can't think of a thing that would turn a woman off, turn a woman in Western culture off faster than a man who talks at her. And so many do, and I understand the reason. Like it comes from a good place, but it really
Yeah.
lands very, very poorly. Okay, so after questions, then what's the next most common wish or complaint that men would do or show up as?
Um, well, one that comes up a lot, both for men and women, is stop checking the phone, put the phone away.
Mm.
That comes
Mm.
up a lot now. There's been a lot of things where, like, if nothing else, put the phone on D&D so you don't keep getting dinged and pinged by the phone all the time because it's distracting,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
something that surprisingly has become it's becoming a real big etiquette thing now because people don't put their phones away, you know. And it's because we're so attached to them nowadays. So that's become a big thing. That's true on both sides, not just for men with women,
Sure.
but women
Yeah.
with men
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Um, and another part that comes up, and this has happened a couple of times with women I talked to, is that they wish the men would just be themselves. Because again, men have been trying to impress them, so they sort of like they won't. It's like they breathe in and won't breathe out to try and keep their, try and look tough for them. That sort of thing, and she can feel the pressure inside. It's like be willing to be relaxed, to be yourself.
Exhale. Yes. Okay. So like questions impressing, posture impressing,
Oh yeah, do the
and
right thing. But it's like
yeah.
I know I've heard so many stories about, the thing is also is really being integrity. So when I've seen women talk to me about how when the men are trying to impress them, but they abuse the wait staff or do something else they're two-faced, they're not being authentic.
Mm.
So I'm not saying just be an abuser, but it's like, but basically be integrity from men really is to be aligned with your values and not so much talk your values, but live your values, which is
Hmm.
basically the way to live life anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, those are I would concur with all of that. And I think I think from my dating days, it's been a couple of years now since I've been dating regularly, but there's the there's this feeling I find among people who are that the whole framework has gotten quite stale. Like it feels like a very tired, it
Mhm.
feels like a very tired thing. Like
Yeah.
nobody's happy with it. Nobody seems on neither side. People are like I don't find people excited about dating almost like wholesale, which is makes it a very, very hard like thing to do because you don't know how long you're going to do it. You don't know when you're
Right.
going to meet that person, when you're going to find like the compatibility. So you're having this interminable slog, feeling this like, oh gosh, I'm either gonna, I'm gonna get swiped or messaged, or I'm gonna swipe or message and not have anybody respond to me, or I'm gonna have to think of all these like creative one-liners or openers, but she's not gonna respond, or he's gonna ghost, and all this. And so
Yeah.
my pivot is like, well, let's go back to the in person. Like, let's go back to where you actually like, I met my now, partner of 3 years in the grocery store.
Hmm.
I walked up to him and it was really great I did because I learned later that he's from the Caribbean and
Okay.
he had learned that white women would call the police, or somebody had told him that white women would call the police if you talk to them. So he was never going to be the one approaching me, and so I'm really happy that I took that chance.
Yeah.
But there's there's this there's this actual like I feel like life can actually feel lively when you have in you the spark of like, oh, I see that person, and here I'm like I'm going to stay. I'm not going to leave myself, or leave like make myself do something that's way outside of my comfort zone,
Hmm.
but it's going to be outside of my comfort zone, and that is going to make me feel alive
Yeah.
to go up to them. And I really, really, really invite men to do that, and for women to do that too. And I think that the the main thing that men are asking for, like just like you said at the beginning, is like this, what is the handkerchief drop that lets me know that it's welcome? Because I think
Hmm.
they run up against the same question of discomfort. Is this woman that they see in the vegetable aisle at Whole Foods, does she just want to be left alone and to shop for her rutabagas?
Right.
Or is she open to feeling, and I don't even say like hit upon. I think it can be like something like, hey, I really think you have an amazing energy, and I just wanted to
Yes.
say that your smile made my day.
That's the thing. If you can do something where you can make their day, not to
Yeah.
get anything, but to give, because that's the other part also, the shift of energy from the get from something you want to get with
Yeah.
something just to give. And
Yeah.
that generosity of spirit is also very attractive.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I mean, would that be your guidance as well for in person? Is like create a comment or an an opener that makes her day, like that makes her shine and smile, and then leave
Yeah.
it at that and kind of go.
If it's the key thing is, and this is one of the things as well, is to not try to give to get. You
Yes.
oftentimes get that negotiation, which is like, give her enough stuff, I'll get something back from her. So if I say nice things to her, she'll kiss me or something like that.
Yeah.
Drop all that. Because if you give it, because first of all, if it, and this is one of the secrets, if you give generously this way, where you just, you love how she looks or what she's doing, we'll tend to feel better at the same time. It's kind of a
Hmm.
reciprocal feeling we get just by being generous in spirit and being kind that way.
Hmm.
And whether or not she wants to go out or not, she feels better.
Hmm.
Especially if we don't do it with hooks attached. We don't say it to get something. We just say it to say it because we value what we
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Then why not make your own day and her day better?
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so then is there a way to take that, grocery store encounter and a comment that's just like as beautiful and generous as that, and layer in an element of like, I'm interested in you in this way. Would you be interested in connecting with me in this, like with a number or
This is a dance. It's not. There's no formula for this, so I can't give you exactly the right thing to say.
sure, sure. No, I get that. Yeah.
But again, like, as we said before about being authentic and really being true to yourself. If there's, I have unfortunately a couple of times now wished I had said something when I was back like 2 hours ago when I was at an event, or I was came out the store and was like I should have said something that. And
Yeah.
I mean, once I went back in again and she'd already left, so it's like I missed that one. So I know the pain of missing out. So at least saying
Mm-hmm.
something, even if it's clumsy, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even especially because it's clumsy, because then she knows you're not being perfect.
Mm.
Can be really a gift to give as well. Because the thing about it is, and this is one of my little things with rejection, is that rejection is one of these really weird things. Because rejection is getting upset about something that you didn't get, that you didn't have before either.
Love that
You
so
know?
much.
Because
Right.
it's the emotional presumption that we carry that gets crushed. We have these
Displaced. Yeah.
dreams that get crushed by we think this is the perfect person, so I'm going to set up this whole structure about this person that we haven't even talked to yet. And
Right.
then when they say no, it all collapses.
Right,
And we
but what
freak out.
we lose, and this is what I think is so fascinating about it, is that we lose hope. Like we there before we asked, we had a hope that it could work out.
Yeah,
And that is what we displace and dispel when we
right.
ask, there's no. And
That's
so
the
I think,
rejection.
yeah, but it's very well articulated in architecture to how you have it, because it's really interesting. It's like, can I have that toy? No. I still didn't have the toy, but now I know that I can't have the toy.
Yeah, but also means you can put your energy somewhere else. The
Exactly.
thing,
I think,
the
yeah,
trick is we have
yeah,
also this thing where we get fixated on one thing,
yeah,
and I'm very much about monogamy versus polyamory. So if I know this is a no go point here, then it frees me up to be somewhere else.
yeah.
So it
Yeah.
can use it as a beneficial support system to go, you know what? Let me check one off my list. That's not something I'm interested in. I can move on.
Right, 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 right. And so back to, yeah, full cycle back to the beginning is I think the rejection is a sting. Rejection at best becomes, a slight sting
Hmm.
if you've worked and you've got a really great self-rapport. No one goes out wishing that they get told no by somebody that they had, really high hopes for.
Right.
But that internal self relationship, that self-rapport, that like I'm a g- I'm a good-looking guy, and gosh darn it, people like me, or whatever that thing is.
Right.
I'm neat. I'm neat and I like myself. And
Yeah.
thank you for freeing up my time. Thank you for being clear with me. Thank you for being clear with yourself. And what I find is like the subterranean benefit of this kind of the interaction we're just been discussing in the grocery store and the level of generosity and lightness that can be conveyed there is that it imbues the receiver, her, with a sense that you are not in scarcity around this
Hmm.
thing called male and female attention.
Yeah.
If you're just dropping like, hey, your smile lit up my day, keep rocking that whole situation you've got going on. It's amazing. And you make your way on to pick out your, nut butters or whatever it is. Um, the sense in you and her is like, I don't like this is not, I don't have to cling to this particular reaction or response or number or date or whatever. It's like she feels in you a sense of like abundance, which is
Hmm.
once you have it, you no longer need it, but we work our whole lives trying to figure out how to have that sense of abundance, whether it's in money or love or self-respect or, airtime or followers or whatever. And then when you have it, it's an inextricable part of your, sense of self, and people feel it and want to give you more of it because they can feel that you're not deficient in a mineral that we're all wondering if we're all wondering like, hey, how is this person doing on their mineral content? Like, do they have all the minerals they need, or are they going to try and take my minerals?
Yeah.
Like, is the paucity of his self-respect going to then fall on me to help fill it?
Right. Which is then back to codependency again.
Yeah, and just it feels just like so much work to have to and I say this to the guys that I teach. It's like when you're hungry for her attention in this way that you don't necessarily know is so palpable, but it is so palpable.
Yep.
Uh, what your attention becomes is actually a request for approval. And it
Mhm.
seems like you're giving her attention, but you're actually giving attention, being like, hey, can you tell me I'm okay? Hey, can you tell me I'm okay? Hey, can you tell me I'm okay? Which is work. Like
Yeah.
that's parenting essentially. Like that is,
Well, yeah, but also if you really are that in pain or discomfort, to simply say to her, "I would love your approval right now," it's honest.
yeah, totally. Totally. That's interesting. I've never actually thought about that one, just articulating that one. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm really noticing that I'm struggling hard for this thing that I just articulate. Do you have you met guys who would say that? Like, have you said that to women?
It's not come up in romantic relationships. It's come up in friendships, not in romantic relationships.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but it's something I've talked about in my work before. Yeah, I'm not sure I have any clients who've actually demonstrated that themselves. But I
Yeah.
recommend because one of my another quotes I've all these different quotes from places. One I talk about is when all else fails, try honesty. So we have this bad habit of couching my needs in something else completely different, which they won't want to say yes to anyway. Whereas if we'd simply said, in true naked vulnerability, this is what I need right now. Are you willing to give it to me? She probably will say yes. And same for him to her as well.
Hmm.
That's not parenting. That's simply just saying, in vulnerable space, I'm just feeling like this. Can I get this from you?
Yeah. I think
Because the
yeah.
thing is, and
Go
for
ahead.
what most men want is a woman's approval.
Mm.
What she wants for him is safety, frankly, is the bottom line in a lot of ways, as well as everything else. But bottom for men is just to have a woman be his cheerleader, be supporting him, be really making him feel good. Because and that's not necessarily physical; it's about emotional, so that we feel
Mm.
we can change the world and get out and do something.
Yeah.
Having a woman who gives that to us is really encouraging.
That's amazing. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I think being honest about the approval and the attention is also a really good one. Just like, hey, I think that in relationship more so like
Yeah.
I'm really just needing attention right now. Or attention, affection, approval, like the a
Hmm.
trifecta, the trifecta of needs that go couched in other things, as you say. When
Yeah.
all else fails, try honesty. It's a really great, that's a bumper sticker.
Hmm. I think it is.
And needed now more than ever.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, Barry, are there any other like amazing insights and one-liners that you've got up your sleeve for us before we move?
This is what came up this time. I mean, there's probably a bunch of other ones if we took long enough, but no, for this time, I think it's probably plenty to keep us going.
Great, great. Well, I have loved this very, very much. I think you have a very love doc you very much earned your love doctor moniker
Thank you.
from friends and such. And I also, maybe this is something you're open to sharing on Facebook Live. If not, feel free to wait till we stop the live stream. But I've a lot of women reach out to me, a lot of single women reach out to me, bemoaning that it's difficult to find a good man, which I clearly you clearly are. So I wonder if you're open to ladies who watch this reaching out to you and shooting their shot with you.
To a degree, yes. I mean, I'm on the dating apps, but
Okay.
certainly I do have a criteria when I'm looking for a partner. So if I don't fit that, it's okay.
Yep.
But I'm open because who knows who might see this video and would actually feel like they offer something that I want and I want something that they have as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And then I would be the love doctor.
I'm willing to pass that
Aha!
on. You're welcome.
Exactly. Okay, my long play will be complete.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, I really, really appreciate you and the work you're doing, and I think it's very, very, very needed. And I really am very happy that that you've been representing women and are now like coming across and translating to men what it is, yeah, what is needed to have women
Yeah.
feel safe and respect, safety and
Well,
respect.
thank you. Thank you for this conversation. It's been fun to dialogue and it's great to have this on the same page in so many ways. So thank you as well.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm gonna stop the live stream and then we can finish up.